Welcome to this corner of the living room. As you can see, this is my fiddle leaf tree, and can you believe this tree was about this tall about 4 years ago? Well, I guess it makes sense, trees grow. Honestly, I thought it was gonna die on me when I bought it. It was not doing well. It did not do well with the change of, I guess, climate or whatever. Anyways, this is a beautiful tree. It's doing well, much better now. And I probably shouldn't have potted directly in the cement pot, but it is what it is. And you know, it looks like it's happy now. So what I'm going to do is, I was actually thinking about repotting it, but I don't want to disturb it. I'm just going to leave it as is. So I'm just going to give it a makeover. Use this existing cement pot. Now I think I got this, I want to say Target years ago. It's already starting to develop a patina, as you can see here, which I honestly like. I don't mind that it's modern, but it just feels too plain for me. So what I'm going to do is start gluing some of these sort of half spheres around the perimeter just to give it a more interesting look. And then I'm going to go in and add a bit of texture just to give it a nice, make it visually more appealing. So it's going to be inspired by my Maya pot that I make for the shop. You've probably seen it. I've shared it before. I love making those. So I'm going to sort of take that language and apply it to this. So I'm going to take a dab of this and put it in the center. I think this is what's going to hold it in the long term, but temporarily while the Gorilla Glue cures, I will add some of this hot glue, and that'll just hold it in place in the meantime. And I'm just trying to space it out evenly. I don't think it needs that much. This stuff is pretty strong. Honestly, it looks so much better already. At this point, I'm just gonna wait for these to, actually, I think I could go ahead and apply the texture now. I mean, these are pretty much on there. They're not gonna move around. So let me go mix up a little batch of Henry's and apply it to this, because I think we need some texture, you know? This is the stuff that I'll be using for the texture. This is Henry's Feather Finish. I've used this quite a lot throughout my DIY projects, as you probably have seen. So let me mix up a little batch in this, and I'm going to apply it using a brush. Okay, it is finished, so I'm just gonna let this dry overnight. Now, just a quick PSA for anyone who ever works with cement: never ever wash this inside, like in the indoor plumbing, in the sink, because I've never done it, but just a little reminder that you never want to wash this in the sink, because this will dry and harden in the pipes, and then you'll have to replace them, which can be quite expensive. So just a little reminder for anyone who ever wants to work with cement indoors: always use or mix up what you're going to use so that you don't have to clean up. But if you do have to clean up, this is going to be like an outdoor cleanup type of a thing, or wait for it to dry and dispose. It is the next day, and the cement is pretty much dry at this point. One thing I did is I roughly, and I do mean roughly, painted the cement with some of this, like, I would say like a greenish brown color. I think that's going to make it feel a bit more antique looking, if you will. So once that coat of paint dries, then I'm gonna go in with sort of a lighter, almost like a beige color, just to create variation in the color. I think this is what will give it some depth. The pot is pretty much dry at this point, and I gotta tell you, it looks really, really good. I love the color of this. It still has that cement look, but it's like more, has a warmer tone. And I think the variation and the texture, I think it just feels a little bit more elevated, a bit more special. So I'm so happy with this. So one thing I'm thinking about adding is some of this moss that I have on hand. I think just because of the shape of this pot, there's just a lot of soil, and I feel like it'll look better if it's covered with some of this. I don't know if it's a good idea for this plant or not, but might as well add it and see. This kind of reminds me of those cement pots that I made a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember, if you saw that video. It was like a DIY on the channel, on the main channel, and that was a really fun project, and I don't know, it kind of gives that same vibe. Now, if you like this design, definitely check out my Maya pots. I will put them, I'll link them in the description. Actually, I think I have some right here. This is the black version, as you can see here. It comes with a plastic liner in case you want to plant in here, or if you want to add a little drainage hole for a plant. This does not come with a drainage hole, so you could use that as a planter. You can use it as a little catch-all sort of pot, or just a decorative piece with character, handmade by me. So it's available in this color, and then there's also this one in the brown, which I think is so cool. So it's very earthy, organic pot with texture, but they have that modern profile, which I think makes these pretty fun. It's a great way to repurpose the existing cylinder pot. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think it looks better? I think it does. And I think the moss was a good move for sure. You know, as we move into spring, I'm trying to bring in a bit of color, and I used to have in this vintage clay pot the sort of seed pod picks, but I'm going to switch things up and I'm going to add some of these new Billy Ball, I guess Crispidi is the official name of these, yellow flowers. I think this is really fun and playful. I've had different versions of this in the past, but I think these are my favorite. They have just a richer color. The bundle comes in a pack of 3, so I'm going to use a total of 4, maybe 5 bundles just to give it a fuller look. But one thing that I like to do is, and I think Billy buttons normally grow straight like this, but I like to curve them a bit. I think it just makes it feel more sculptural, a little bit more playful, and doing such is going to, I think, look a lot better. So what I like to do is I take my finger, my thumb, and just slowly, ever so gently curve it. Not so much, just a little bit to make it feel more natural. And then I'll twist it around and then do the same thing. And then that gives us something like this. And then I can even bend the bottom just a bit so that I insert it. By the way, I added a new floral foam that I hot glued to the bottom, just so that everything stays in place. So I'm gonna just insert it and stab it into the foam like this. And then I will start to rotate this piece and just make it feel balanced. And these are great because these could even be added to fresh flower arrangements. This is one of those like little accent floral pieces that I think just adds a bit of interest to any floral arrangement. But of course, I do think they look great by themselves. I think in the end, I'm gonna use all 5 bunches, but I could easily get away with 4, maybe even 3 if it's a smaller arrangement. There we have it. I'll go ahead and link these and the pot in the description. Again, I am using 5 bunches in this particular arrangement, but I could probably get away with 4. I think this is going to be perfect on the dining table. had a bit extra time, so I paid a visit to the thrift store just to check out what's around. Not really looking for anything particular, but I did spot some interesting pieces, some really beautiful vases. I actually really like this. These are also really beautiful, and yellow tag was half off today, but I had to pass on them. They just weren't for me. Now in the furniture section, it was kind of a bust. I did spot some pieces that could potentially use a bit of a makeover. This chair I believe is brand new. I feel like this is probably from Target because I often see new Target inventory at my local Goodwills. I don't know if they donate to the thrift store, I'm not sure, but this table lamp, quite interesting, very 80s, don't you think? I would say it's beautiful, but I would be lying. This is a pretty little trinket dish, I would call it. It's silver, of course, has that beautiful aged tarnish, and this wooden box could definitely be used for hiding some remote for $4.99 or $3.99. Not bad. And what in the world is this? Tortilla maker. Ooh, $29.99 for solid wood. The one thing about it though is, does it make them even? That's the big question here. Alright, so I just left the thrift store. To be honest with you, I did not really find anything. Like, actually did not find anything. Some days it's a bust. It is what it is. I did, however, find 3 items. I'll show you when I get home. But these are more for like a DIY project. I think they have potential, and sometimes it just takes a bit of creativity to reimagine something. Okay, so I did find a couple of pieces. I did not find much from the thrift store, but first up, let's start off with this. So this right here is a wooden, initially I thought it was a wooden cutting board, but looking at it further, it's actually a sort of bowl, like a platter, if you will. So I feel like this was probably a wooden serving platter. It's a really good size. It's solid wood. However, it's not in the best condition. Some of the finish has been fading, and it's a bit too orange for my liking. So I'm thinking of repurposing, well, actually reusing this piece and doing a little DIY to just give it a more distressed, a more antique look, and honestly plan to use this as more of a decorative piece rather than a serving platter. And then next up, I found these 2 wooden frames. As you know, I like going to the thrift store for frames because you can get some good quality ones at a good price point, and these are solid red oak. As you know, that honey oak color, very popular in the 80s and 90s. It's just not in anymore. You know, and it has some pretty interesting artwork. Oh, hold on a minute, actually. Oh, never mind. You know what? I think I might actually keep these as is because they're signed by the artist. So on the back of this frame over here, there's information, I guess, about the artist. So this is by Doug Miller. Doug's initial start as a professional artist began in 1981 in Leavenworth, Washington, which is a beautiful town. I've actually been there a couple times. Very popular for like their Christmas lights and stuff. It is a Bavarian village on the east side of the Cascade Mountains here in Washington State. The rugged wilderness and the plentiful wildlife have inspired many of his paintings. Born and raised in the plains of Kansas, Doug has a BA in art from Emporia State University, where his paintings depicted hard-edged abstraction of the human figure. So let's see. Doug believes his successful paintings are accomplished by spending hours outdoors, observing, whether in Hawaii, painting on location, or in Alaska, photographing wildlife. Since each major piece takes weeks to achieve, the quality and detail have become the Miller trademark. His painting of the Olympic rainforest was a top 100 finalist in the Arts for the Parks contest held in Jackson Hole, Wyoming in 1990. Okay, I would like to know your input on what do you think I should do with these. So I actually really like the artwork. I like the matting. It's sort of a bluish color, but the frame, it's the frame for me that's just feels a bit outdated. And of course this would be honest for the time, but I feel like these could be salvaged, and I think if we just maybe update the frames, I think that could be a good solution. So do you think I should leave everything as is, leave the frame? Do you think I should strip down the frame and maybe give it a fresh coat, but a more natural finish so that it doesn't feel so golden? Do you think I should stain these a darker finish? Or do you think I should maybe give them tarnished metal effect, like an ornate wooden frame sort of a vibe? Should I maybe reframe these in a different frame? What do you think I should do with these? I'm kind of torn, to be honest with you. And speaking of artwork, this is, well, I guess someone's DIY from the past. And this is a plywood piece, of course, that was cut, and they used it as a sort of backdrop, as a frame for this print of a mountain scape, and then it was covered with some, I guess, clear resin. But over time, as you know, resin begins to turn yellow, and the UV has probably gotten to this piece, and now it's kind of faded. It doesn't look that good anymore, to be honest with you. And I do like the idea of the wooden frame situation. It's quite interesting. How do you think I should repurpose this piece? What do you think I should do with it? Let me know in the comments. I think it's deserving of some new life, don't you think? This lamp right here was $2.99, which is a great deal. I tested it out. It still works. It even still has the light bulbs. This is one of those lamps where you tap any of the metal parts and you can adjust the brightness and turn it on and off. But the thing about this lamp is that the gold color of this is very 90s, very not it. It's not it. And I want to repurpose this lamp, but I'm thinking of maybe either applying sort of a aging wax, perhaps even reimagine the base a bit, doing something playful with that. I feel like this video is all about ideas. I'm curious to know your ideas for this table lamp. In either case, I want to go ahead and get started with this project today. So let's go outside and see what I can come up with. And I'm going to be using this oven cleaner from Dollar Tree. I've used it in the past and it works perfectly fine typically. So let's just spray it all over that. So the board is now dry, but as you can see, it only removes some of the finish off. However, I am out of oven cleaner, so I'm gonna have to run to the store and get some more. And then repeat the process once more, maybe twice, depending on how it turns out. But some of the natural wood is starting to peek through, which I think is gonna look a lot better than this existing orange finish. So stay tuned for that.